Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 2020 MyTeam Principal, episode number 9. We're in season number 2. We continue to develop the car. Our Arrow, we've made it halfway through the pack. Can we continue that climb upwards? Well, our major upgrade failed, unfortunately. It's going to take another race weekend in order to get that done. And an extra 600 points is quite expensive, but has to be done. We're down to 900 now. Well, it's hard to sit on 900 R&D points and not do something. Two quick things jump out at me. One, my only options are a second Arrow upgrade or a durability upgrade, which is not an area I necessarily care about. Reason being, I can't do dual upgrades at the same time. We already have something for a chassis and for powertrain. Can't do them. For Arrow, I'd like to get another major upgrade on the way instead of the minor ones. The minors are expensive at this point, and the major ones aren't that much more, but they have a significantly larger impact. So we'll save up points this week and then kind of see where we're at after this race for what to do next. But we should have a good amount of R&D points in order to do, something. We're 8 races into the season, so we've still got a bit of time before we hit the period where we're going to need money to re-sign Calderon. As a result, I'm going to go ahead and get our second resource point generation upgrade done on the durability side, which amazingly picks us up to Spec 2 just by having that singular upgrade. And just 2 days to fill, and a +4 on pace for Calderon sounds pretty dang good for me at this point. Max Verstappen finishes in a position that's pretty standard for him, 5th place, but he does it in a Renault, not in a Red Bull. Meanwhile, former teammate Alexander Albon right behind him, though he did start from 13th, presumably after accruing some sort of penalty to start the race. But Hamilton wins from pole and takes fastest lap comfortably, the only car in the 113s. Bottas second, losing 8 points of his championship lead to Hamilton. Vettel overtakes Ricciardo for the final podium spot. We get Noda up into 9th place to earn 2 points in this race. And meanwhile, our teammate Calderon getting faster and faster, finally starting to get competitive into that mid-teens where we've been looking for her to reach for quite some time now. So really good result for her. And we're starting to look a lot better, I think, as a team. Noda, 9th in the standings at the moment. As a team, we are 6th, ahead of McLaren and the AlphaTauri at this point, where Renault running away with best of the rest at the moment, but Racing Point 21 points behind isn't too far off the pace. Ferrari jumps Red Bull by a single point right now, and those two look like they might have a big battle going this season. Albon a single point ahead of Vettel, where Ricciardo is 2 points ahead of Ocon. 3 and 5 day sets to fill, so we'll start with the 3-day 120 resource points, or 120, it's the same, or the sponsor advertisement, which is going to get us 700 team acclaim and some cash. I'll take that. We don't need the durability, though the resource points are obviously a nice touch and something we could go for. We have a single esport event, or we can split this up into experience and chassis morale, or we can take a 3 and a 2. So we can get that durability, get those resource points, and then throw in the simulator training. And since the chassis team build is nothing but morale, I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and save cash at this point, knowing that we are approaching mid-season and that contract renewal. We want plenty of money for that, and then we'll go from there for whatever will be next. That durability upgrade's still not done in the facilities just yet. As much as I'd like the pure power engine upgrade, which could see us overtake Mercedes by the time it is done, I do think getting into the ERS as well as the fuel efficiency for the next couple of upgrades do make a certain amount of sense. Plus, they're definitely cheaper than that major power upgrade. This is definitely going to take a while, though, as we're guaranteed 2 race weekends before this upgrade even takes place. And then there's a 40% chance of failure. After 9 races and just 55% wear, we're finally going to go to our second gearbox. Invitational event in a 96 Williams at Paul Ricard. We have 3 laps to finish first place, overtaking all the other cars on the grid. Now, as excited as I am to do this, I am not in my steering wheel. And the reason being, I am not using my steering wheel for this is in my other series, I literally ripped the steering wheel right off my desk and broke my desk in doing that. And so I am on my gamepad, which I use for the... Oh, hello, I can't turn. Alright, so we're at an invitational event here in a 96 Williams. It's Paul Ricard. We have 3 laps to overtake the field to claim victory in order to collect the prize. Unfortunately, I am doing this one not from the comfort of my Thrustmaster T150 racing wheel, but with a gamepad, which I have not used in a while to drive, more than a lap or two anyway. That's making me very nervous. Whew. That was bad. No rev limiter to even see where I'm at. We are going to go ahead and this might take me more than one try, but I'm going to do this in a time lapse where it's sped up and we'll see if we can get the job done. But literally in my last episode, the last 2 question mark series, I went from last place to midfield and with a busted wing fought through a tight chicane at Suzuka there at the end of the lap and ripped my wheel right off my desk. It broke my desk while I was at it, so at the moment I cannot properly use that racing wheel. Noda pulls off a very unlikely podium finish, 3rd place. Fastest lap. You'd have to have fastest lap to get that far up the grid order. Hamilton had pole but only finished 2nd, less than a 1/10 of a second behind Valtteri Bottas That could have been a pass at the line for all we know, though Paul Ricard is not normally a track you would have a pass right at the line, maybe in the final corner. As we might have just seen me shoving somebody out of the way through the final corner. I would definitely have had a penalty. Should have had a penalty. Took me a few tries. I was disqualified automatically a few times because of the hit. Albon finished 4th, Ricciardo 5th, Perez 6th. I just heard the news at the time of recording this, of course. This is news that was just released an hour ago, real time. So it is very fresh news. By now, I'm sure most of you have heard. Well, you definitely should have heard, because if you watched the race over the weekend, it's already happened. But at the time of recording this, I just caught the news that Sergio Perez has tested positive for COVID-19. He is out for the next couple of weeks due to coronavirus. I don't know who his replacement will be yet. I've heard 3 names tossed about. Reserve drivers for Mercedes and Racing Point are shared: Esteban Gutierrez and Stoffel Van Dorn. Van Dorn, of course, has Formula E and is one of the contenders there, so it might not be him. Gutierrez, it's been since, 2016 that he has driven. Would be kind of a natural fit, like for like, Mexican for Mexican driver. But past that, Hulkenberg, Nico Hulkenberg, has also been tossed about as the potential replacement. Leclerc, last one in the points, and that is for Alfa Romeo. Yes, Alfa Romeo scoring points. And Calderon still into the mix, only 17th, but that's still a good finish, all things considered. Points for third drops me out of the lower midfield battle into the upper midfield battle. Only 21 points behind Max Verstappen now, 4 points behind the aforementioned Sergio Perez. Bottas leads by 50 points over Lewis Hamilton with a dominating start to the season. And as a team, we are now solidly in 6th, leaving behind the back midfield and joining the actual midfield contenders. Ferrari and Red Bull remain just a single point apart. Department morale has dropped considerably, so we could really use that 20%. So podium celebration party. We're also then, with 1 day left to fill, we'll take that 400 driver acclaim, maybe for that podium, right? It's thanks to recent part upgrades that we suddenly find ourselves so far up the grid. We've now hit best of the rest, passing up everyone other than Mercedes that still have a dominant car, and then Ferrari and Red Bull. We're really close to Red Bull as it is right now. Racing Point, AlphaTauri, Renault, McLaren, super close together. Alfa Romeo and Haas not far behind. Williams still dragging along, but they're not that far back at this point. See our massive jump from a week ago till the Paul Ricard race that we just finished. No wonder I was able to steal that podium, because we do apparently have really good AI for our lead driver, which is why they continue to perform so well, squeezing that podium out, because the car itself jumped out of the midfield and into being a light contender, not necessarily for a race win, but certainly a contender for podiums, maybe on a consistent basis going forward. Our chassis is still the obvious weak point of the car, only better than the Williams. and still a little ways behind everybody else. So a major weight redistribution, fuel tank positioning should help us out a bit, though it's definitely going to take a little while till it's done. Bottas has been near perfect this season, again starting from the front row, and again overtaking Hamilton to claim the race victory and claim the fastest lap. Hamilton finishing second. Ricciardo gets on the podium for Ferrari. Verstappen again outperforming his Renault. The two McLarens, what an outstanding race for them. Norris coming from 13th all the way up to 6th. Juju Noda, another solid performance. 7th place this time, 6 points. Vettel all the way down in 8th after starting 3rd. Albon 9th. And Perez rounding out the points. Russell nearly into the points for Renault. And Calderon up in 16th in her new place in the midfield. Still struggling rating-wise as a driver, despite all the improvements we've made. She's gone from a very low 50 to almost mid-60s, but most of the drivers here are in the 80s or high 70s, so she's still well off the pace compared to others. I think she's going to start consistently beating Matsushita, as they have similar ratings, though hers is a little worse. And we definitely have a better car. The two Haas cars and the Williams, I think, are also far enough down that I'd say Calderon should be about 17th or better on a pretty consistent basis. Leclerc's going to be tough to beat because Leclerc, like myself, has a good AI rating. Myself as in Juju Noda, my primary driver. It's enough to move ahead of Perez by a single point, so now battling for 8th and 9th in the drivers. And in the constructors, no change, but we're very much in no man's land between McLaren and Racing Point, though, again, McLaren had a pretty good race here to pick up some solid points. Ricciardo jumps Vettel in the teammate battle and actually equals Albon on points. Red Bull fell behind a little bit as Ocon not scoring terribly well, as this game does not give Ocon a very favorable driver rating. See Calderon now a 64 overall, and like I said, that's at least 10 points better than where she started. I think she started as a 52 or a 53. Experience has come up a good bit this season, or over the last year anyway, since she's been our teammate. Race pace hasn't improved a ton, but the awareness has definitely come up, and the pace especially is quite a bit higher than where it was a year ago. Of course, my goal here is to bring Calderon up to championship level, which means we definitely need to spend quite a bit of time. Team claim level 14, her demand's level 2. I think we're okay there. The low risk offer, I think, will certainly secure it. We have plenty of money for that, and it's barely any more money, so we'll go ahead and just throw this that way. And we're signed. A funded team event comes with department morale and resource points. That's something I just cannot turn down. That is a huge amount of team acclaim that we can pick up from there. We cannot split this down to where the 3-day ones are going to help us much. Oh, you know what? If we take that away, look what we have here. 25%. We need to fit that down here, though. 6 days remaining, so we can take a lot of cash, and 40,000 is actually very little cash now compared to what it was. Team acclaim is certainly worth a lot. We don't have 7 days, we only have 6. 3 is better than 2. Every other alternative is going to give us only 2 things. We get excellent department morale, we get some resource points, we get some driver acclaim, and cash. Department failures really holding me back in that resource development points. So we're going to go ahead and spend 2 million is all it takes to get the first level of quality control. Which means we actually have enough money to instantly do the same thing in the powertrain department and bring both of those along. Another major upgrade on the way. We're down to 29% chance of failure. It's only going to take us 1 race weekend to get this done. I think that is perfect. It's great timing. That's really not long to get a pretty major upgrade that would, at least on paper right now, put us second on the grid. Not only in the engine department, but now in aerodynamics as well. We just need to keep bringing that chassis department along a bit to catch up, but with 1 major upgrade already on the way, that's going to help us quite a bit. Go figure that not only has Ferrari made an upgrade to overtake us in the engine department, our own ERS upgrade fails. And we're going to have to, again, spend a ton of points to recover this, which, of course, we just went through that process of upgrading our headquarters so that this happens less often. But that upgrade's not complete yet. So hopefully we'll see things turn around a bit for us in the future. At least it'll be ready the day before the Hungarian Grand Prix. Bottas continues to hide the toolbox. Hamilton cannot find his hammer anywhere, as we have not had hammer time pretty much all season long. Hamilton gets pole almost every race. Bottas wins almost every race. This season, anyway. He has absolutely dominated, and he looks like he's cruising to his second championship. We are past the halfway point in the season now with 12 of 22 races behind us. Vettel, Ricciardo take 3rd and 4th. Verstappen and Russell for Renault. Both Renaults this time into the top 6 ahead of both Red Bulls. Perez takes 9th. Noda does grab 10th, so we get a single point today. I do think that recent developments from other cars have pushed some teams past us, but we do have multiple large upgrades that are coming. So I think we could be back up the order a little bit in the next group of races. I think we're definitely in a better place from where we were at the start of the season, where we were on the outside of the points looking in for most of the first handful of races, outside of a couple. Now we're consistently scoring again, and I think we'll consistently be fighting for best of the rest after the next couple of upgrades. Anyway, Kvyat, Norris, Sainz, Calderon just 19th today, so bad race for her. It's in the wet. So Silverstone in the wet means driver ratings matter a bit more. So I wonder if that's anything, because we were only 10th. But were we only 10th and Calderon 19th because of driver ratings or because of where the car was? Hard to say, at least while we're looking at this screen. In the standings, Bottas now 66 points ahead. Ricciardo and Vettel both moving ahead of Albon this week. Ocon slipping further and further behind that battle, so Ferrari now a clear number 2 in the constructors. Max definitely best of the rest, less than 20 points between him and the man who took his seat at Red Bull. And Noda now equal on points with Perez, so we've definitely got a battle for our hands right there. Calderon firmly planted between the Alphas and the Haas drivers. yet to score any career points, but she'll get there. She'll get there eventually. And no change in the constructors. 500 points, doubling Ferrari's point total in second. Absolutely dominant this season. The Mercedes car is absolutely in a tier of its own, with everybody else battling it out. Ferrari and Red Bull are kind of that second tier. We joined them for just one race weekend, and that was enough to get a podium, but then we kind of slipped back into the midfield where we are now. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Wear your masks, and bye for now.